You are sitting on your couch. It is a Thursday evening. You are slightly hungry, maybe just mindlessly scrolling on your phone. And right there, from the corner of your eye, you can see your gym bag sitting by the door.
Oh, the classic stare down with the gym bag.
Exactly. And in that exact moment, you feel it. Just this immense mental mountain. The sheer exhaustion of just the idea of getting up, putting your shoes on, and going to train it feels entirely impossible.
It really does. It feels like a physical weight holding you down on the cushions.
Right. But what if I told you that the reason you can't get off the couch right now isn't because you lack discipline or character?
Which is what everyone assumes, right?
Always. But it's actually because your brain is actively performing this highly evolved, energy-saving survival sequence.
It's a profound shift in perspective when you realize that.
Welcome to TalkKast. Because understanding this exact moment of hesitation can really help make sense of why staying consistent feels so incredibly hard.
Yeah, when you realize that hesitation isn't some moral failing, but an actual biological mechanism, you can actually start to dismantle it.
Exactly, because the truth is, people don't stop going to the gym because they are lazy.
No, they really don't.
They stop because they expect the highly motivated, energetic version of themselves, like from a really good Monday, to somehow always show up.
And that Monday energy is rare.
Right. And when life gets messy and that energy inevitably drops on a Thursday, they blame their willpower.
Yeah, they think they just aren't strong enough mentally.
But the real issue is that they built their entire routine on a feeling. And feelings are never stable.
Never. Relying on a specific emotional state to trigger a difficult action is just a guaranteed path to failure.
Because our emotions are constantly shifting, right?
Exactly. Human emotions and energy levels fluctuate constantly based on this massive web of variables. So when you expect motivation to be a constant, you are setting up this binary pass-fail system. And the only acceptable condition to go to the gym is feeling great.
Which means we have to look at how the brain actually processes that hesitation on the couch. Especially if waiting around for the right feeling is a trap.
It is a total trap.
Because there seems to be this false order that most people believe in. They think the sequence goes, I feel motivated, therefore I go to the gym, and then I train well.
They expect the desire to arrive first.
Right. But on those tired days, the reality is almost always the reverse.
It goes completely the other way.
You start moving, your physical state shifts, your mood catches up, and suddenly the session becomes possible.
Yeah, the action creates the feeling.
Exactly. When you are sitting still, you are actively sabotaging that exact process. Self-sabotage happens in stillness.
Because the longer you sit and debate with yourself, the more cognitive resources you are burning just thinking about the task.
You're exhausting yourself before you even move.
Right. The brain is incredibly efficient at protecting you from perceived discomfort. When your energy is low, your mind doesn't frame it as, I want to become unhealthy.
No, it frames it really logically.
Exactly. It tells you, you are tired, you can go tomorrow. One day won't matter. It's getting late anyway.
It sounds so reasonable in the moment.
It does. It rationalizes the inaction just to conserve energy.
So the mind is essentially turning the workout into this massive, emotionally expensive event before you've even moved a single muscle.
You've exhausted your willpower just having the argument.
Taking action actually shifts your brain into task-positive mode.
You are recognizing that hesitation grows exponentially when it is fed by overthinking. This is why the most practical strategy I have found in the behavioral data is what I call the just go there rule.
I really like the framing of that rule.
Yeah.
It's a way to short-circuit that survival sequence.
You have to interrupt the hesitation.
Right. You make the goal significantly smaller than the excuse your brain is currently generating. You just stop worrying about the actual workout.
Don't think about the treadmill or the heavy weights.
Exactly. You don't think about the sweat or the effort at all. Your only job is to put your shoes on.
Just the shoes.
Then grab your keys. Then get in the car. It reminds me of the anxiety of staring at the top of a massive mountain from the very bottom.
Oh, that's a great analogy.
Right. If you stand there looking at the summit, trying to psych yourself up for the entire climb all at once, you will be completely paralyzed.
It's too much to process.
The trick isn't to look at the summit. The trick is to just look at your feet and take one single step out the front door.
And neurologically, that physical movement is what breaks the cycle of hesitation.
Because you're no longer frozen.
Exactly. The hardest part of the session is rarely the physical exertion itself. It is the transition.
That friction of starting.
Right. It is the friction of leaving a state of comfort and entering a state of effort. By shrinking the objective down to just putting on your shoes, you are drastically reducing the cognitive load.
So you're kind of sneaking past your own brain.
You really are. You are effectively slipping past your brain's defense mechanisms before the amygdala can trigger a full-blown avoidance response.
Wow.
You basically bypass the executive function's cost-benefit analysis.
Okay, so you shrink the debate, you look at your feet, you bypass the amygdala, and you actually make it through the gym doors.
Step 1 complete.
But once you get there, you still have to deal with the physical reality that your body might feel completely drained.
Which is very real.
Right. The mountain analogy is great for getting out the door, but now you are standing in the gym and the weights feel twice as heavy as they did last week.
And this is where we have to confront the myth of identical energy.
Okay, what do you mean by that?
People often train as if their body is a machine with a fixed, predictable daily output. But human energy is impacted by sleep, daily stress, age, workload, nutrition. It's a huge list.
This is not a straight line at all.
Not even close. And when you look at the biology of this, it clearly demonstrates that sleep loss physically impairs maximal muscle strength and overall exercise performance.
It's not just in your head.
No, it is not just the psychological feeling of being tired.
Wait, I want to understand the mechanism there. Why does sleep loss actually make the weights feel heavier? What is physically happening in the body?
It comes down to how your body stores and utilizes fuel and how your nervous system communicates. Sleep deprivation impairs glycogen synthesis, which is basically how your muscles store carbohydrates for explosive energy.
So the fuel tank is literally empty.
Exactly. And on top of that, lack of sleep triggers cortisol spikes, which breaks down muscle tissue, and it alters your central nervous system's ability to recruit motor units.
Wait, really? So your brain can't even talk to your muscles properly?
Right. Your brain is literally struggling to send a strong, clear signal to your muscles to contract forcefully. The fatigue is a biological reality.
Okay, let me stop you right there, though.
Yeah.
Because fitness culture constantly yells at us to push through the pain, right? To just grind it out.
Oh, absolutely. The no days off mentality.
Yeah. So if I start backing off every time I feel a little sleepy or my central nervous system is lagging, aren't I just coddling myself? Doesn't adapting just become a slippery slope to not trying at all?
That is the fear, certainly. But there is a profound difference between making excuses and practicing autoregulation.
Autoregulation, okay.
Think of your body like a modern smartphone in low power mode.
Oh, I like that.
When the battery drops below 20%, the phone automatically dims the screen, slows down background apps, and limits processing power just to survive the day.
It doesn't permanently shut down.
Right, it adapts to the available resources. Autoregulation is just doing that manually for your workout.
So it's a diagnostic tool, not an escape hatch.
Precisely. Autoregulation is an honest, real-time response to your current physical capacity, not permanent avoidance.
You're just modifying things.
Yeah, it means modifying your training based on your perceived capability on that specific day, rather than stubbornly sticking to a pre-written plan.
Which makes sense, because the plan doesn't know you only slept 4 hours.
Exactly. If your nervous system is genuinely compromised by stress or lack of sleep, forcing a high-intensity session doesn't make you tougher.
It just breaks you down further.
It digs a massive recovery hole that you cannot climb out of, which inevitably leads to injury or burnout.
Okay, so if we take that logic into the gym, adapting might mean you do less weight, or maybe fewer sets. Or, say you originally planned to do heavy barbell squats, but you are completely exhausted. A barbell squat requires your brain to balance the weight, maintain spatial awareness, stabilize your core. That is a huge neurological demand.
It's massively taxing on the nervous system.
Right. So instead, you use a leg press machine, because the machine does the balancing for you.
Yeah.
You bypass that neurological fatigue on a tired day, but you still get the mechanical work in.
That is a perfect example of autoregulation. You protect the habit without destroying the organism.
But if we accept that we can't do our absolute maximum every day, how do we actually score a workout so we don't feel like we're just failing all the time?
That's the real challenge.
Because if your internal standard for a successful workout is always longer, heavier, and sweatier than last time, and totally normal, average days are going to feel terrible.
Those low power mode days are going to feel like outright failures. And perfectionism is the absolute enemy of consistency. When the standard for success is set at absolute peak performance, you mathematically guarantee that the vast majority of your sessions will fall short.
Because peak conditions are so rare.
Incredibly rare. This is why it is crucial to separate your training calendar into performance days and consistency days.
Okay, consistency days.
Right. A consistency day is highly successful simply because you showed up and kept the behavioral chain intact.
I mean, we actually touched on the danger of perfectionism before and why most people quit the gym after 3 weeks. But it's fascinating how a 20-minute, completely average session that you actually complete is infinitely more valuable than the perfect, optimized session that you keep postponing.
Which brings us directly to the necessity of the minimum day rule.
Right. Predefining the absolute smallest acceptable effort before you actually need it.
You set the floor.
So you tell yourself on a Sunday, if Thursday gets absolutely crazy, my minimum day, if I go, I warm up, I do 2 main exercises, and I leave in 30 minutes.
And that's enough.
That is the absolute floor.
And the biology actually supports this approach beautifully.
It does.
Yes. When we look at minimal dose strategies, low weekly volumes, sometimes as little as a single working set of a compound movement can produce significant strength gains in beginners.
Just one set.
Just one. And it can effectively maintain muscle mass in advanced trainees.
Wow.
Stripped-down 30-minute session is not fake training. It provides a real mechanical stimulus to the tissue.
So it physically counts.
It absolutely physically counts. But more importantly, it functions as habit insurance.
Habit insurance. I love that phrasing.
You are proving to your own brain that your identity remains intact even when the external conditions are entirely suboptimal.
Great. So you lower the friction by just putting your shoes on. You use the minimum day rule to keep the habit alive on the bad days. And because of this durability, you actually start seeing real results.
Which is the goal.
Right. Your clothes fit differently. You feel stronger walking upstairs. But strangely, from what we're seeing, that is exactly when a brand new risk of quitting emerges.
Yes, the progress trap.
People often quit right after making their first wave of real progress. Why does success suddenly become a vulnerability?
Because the initial discomfort that drove them into the gym in the first place is entirely gone.
The pain point is missing.
Right. The acute feeling of I am out of shape and I am unhappy about it is relieved. Their confidence rises. And without realizing it, they confuse a temporary state-based achievement with a permanent identity.
They think the result is now locked in, like paying off a car loan. Once it's done, you own the car.
But the biology of muscle tissue doesn't work like a bank loan.
Not at all.
The biological reality of maintenance is completely uncompromising. It is the brutal truth of use it or lose it.
Right.
We have to look at this from an evolutionary standpoint. Muscle tissue is highly metabolic. It is biologically expensive for the human body to keep because it burns calories 24 hours a day.
Expensive real estate.
Exactly. For hundreds of thousands of years of human history, food was scarce. Carrying an extra 10 pounds of muscle was a massive metabolic liability during a famine.
So the body actively wants to get rid of it if it isn't being used.
Exactly. The body only keeps what is strictly necessary for survival.
Wow.
When you look at disuse atrophy, it clearly shows that without ongoing mechanical demand, meaning lifting heavy things regularly, muscles quickly waste and thin.
It just clears them out.
The moment you remove the stimulus, the body says, great, we don't need this expensive tissue anymore. Let's break it down to save energy.
So fitness is not something you own outright.
No, it is something you rent. And the rent is due every single week in repeated basic actions.
Fitness is rented, not owned. That is a really tough pill to swallow, but it completely changes how we view the long game.
It changes everything.
Because when people first start going to the gym, the internal narrative is, I need motivation to fix this problem.
Right, it's very problem-focused.
But to keep paying that biological rent indefinitely, the mindset has to shift from a temporary motivation to a permanent identity.
It has to.
It has to shift to, I am someone who trains. It's no longer about chasing a specific finish line for a wedding or a beach vacation. It's just part of how you operate as a human being.
And psychological research on habit formation strongly supports this exact transition.
How so?
Well, when a behavior is entirely driven by willpower, it requires a massive amount of daily mental wrestling.
Like we talked about on the couch.
Right. But as a routine becomes more automatic and identity consistent, the cognitive load vanishes.
Because it's just who you are.
Yes. You do not wake up and vigorously debate whether or not to brush your teeth. You just do it because you're a person who brushes their teeth.
The decision is already made.
Exactly. The cue, the routine, and the reward are hardwired. Training has to cross that same neurological threshold.
And building that personal internal identity is so crucial because relying on external factors makes the habit incredibly fragile.
It really does.
I do this all the time with the accountability trap. Everyone tells you that you need a gym buddy. And working out with a friend is genuinely great at first. It lowers the social awkwardness of walking into a new place.
It's good for the initiation phase.
Right. But if your routine depends entirely on your friend being there, it dies the exact second they decide to sleep in, or change jobs, or stop going altogether.
You're tying your success to someone else's behavior.
Exactly. It's like building the entire foundation of your own house on a piece of property that someone else owns.
That's a great way to look at it.
If they decide to sell the land and move, your whole structure collapses. The habit ultimately has to belong to you.
External support is a fantastic tool for the initiation phase, like you said, but it is a terrible foundation for long-term maintenance.
It's just too risky.
If your behavioral trigger is inextricably tied to another person's presence, your consistency is completely out of your control.
Yeah.
That internal drive, that identity shift we discussed must eventually replace the external crutch.
And it isn't just relying on friends that messes with our heads. It is the external expectations created by social media. You open your phone, and the algorithm serves up this completely false reality where everyone is constantly setting personal bests.
So everyone looks perfectly shredded.
Right, and they're training with this endless screaming intensity. But real training is deeply uneven. Some days are absolutely brilliant, and some days the weights feel incredibly heavy for absolutely no obvious reason.
That's just biology.
But when people compare their messy, normal reality to a highly curated, perfectly lit online highlight reel, they feel a profound sense of inadequacy.
They feel like they're failing.
They feel like they're failing at something everyone else finds incredibly easy.
And that comparison distorts the perception of what a normal fitness journey actually looks like. It trains us to expect a constant dopamine hit from our workouts.
Which just isn't realistic.
Not at all. A mature approach to training accepts that the trajectory is never a perfect upward curve. It is a series of peaks, long valleys, and endless plateaus.
So you have to expect the plateaus.
Yes. Recognizing that unevenness as a feature of the process, rather than a bug, prevents the frustration that leads to complete disengagement.
Which brings us to a crucial mindset shift for surviving those valleys. The goal is never to never miss.
That's an impossible standard.
Right. People get so incredibly caught up in having a perfect streak. They go every day for 3 weeks, then they miss a Monday because they had to work late.
Life happens.
Exactly. But suddenly they feel annoyed. Tuesday feels heavier because they are out of rhythm.
The momentum is broken.
And by Wednesday, shame kicks in, and they decide the whole week is ruined, so they might as well just eat whatever they want and start fresh next month.
That is the classic all or nothing trap.
It's so common.
It is. But the real metric of consistency is not a koala streak. It is the speed of the return. It is the ability to absorb a disruption, whether it is a missed day, a bad one at work, or a minor illness, and simply resume the baseline behavior without attaching a heavy emotional narrative to the lapse.
Missing a Monday shouldn't mean the whole week goes up in flames.
No, it's just one day.
The people who stay in shape for years, the ones who really figure out how to pay that biological rent over decades, they know how to restart without drama.
They don't panic.
Right. They don't write diary entries about it. They just say, okay, missed yesterday, back in today.
Precisely. They remove the moral weight from the missed session. It is just data.
It's just data. Long-term consistency doesn't belong to the most intensely motivated people in the world. It belongs to the durable ones.
The ones who can adapt.
It's about letting go of the need to feel absolutely perfectly ready before taking action. It all comes back to that very first moment we talked about, sitting on the couch on a tired Thursday. You do not need to feel the fire. You just need to put the shoes on. If you get to the gym and your energy is low, manually put yourself in low power mode and auto-regulate the workout without guilt.
Keep the behavioral chain intact.
Keep the habit alive. If you miss a day because life happens, just come back tomorrow. The real victory is simply navigating the habit through a messy, imperfect life.
The durability is the outcome of accepting the imperfection.
Consider this as we wrap up. If your muscles require constant physical stress just to stick around and not atrophy, what mental skills, your resilience, your patience, your ability to do things you just don't feel like doing are currently atrophying just because you aren't challenging them daily?
That's a powerful question.
Something to think about the next time you are staring at your gym bag. You don't need to climb the whole mountain today. Just look at your feet. Thanks for listening to TalkKast.